Well, good morning for me and good afternoon for you, Kiri. I know it's about 5 o'clock for you over there in Amman, Jordan. And I just want to thank you so much for taking the time at the end of your day to talk to me and our congregation about the work of World Relief. And I was just wondering, would you just start by giving us a brief kind of background history of the work of World Relief?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for you guys and for the time that we get to share together. World Relief actually started in the States, in Boston, and its initial goal was to provide relief to churches in Europe, funnily enough, as a result of World War II. To this day, we still do work with churches, although not just in Europe. I'm in Jordan, in the Middle East, and there are offices in many other countries. And although we still do relief work, it's really been extended to long-term transformational ministries to vulnerable populations. So that's what we currently do. A little bit of history, and in the Middle East, we do, still relief and still more developmental work as well. We try to work through the church where we can, although, as you know, in Muslim majority context, it's not always easy, it's not always possible. So thankfully, here in Jordan, there is a church, a wonderful, very colourful church, and we try and work with the church and with believers wherever possible, which is a challenge and a delight, and very, very enjoyable.
We've been talking in our church about the Syrian refugee crisis, but you're actually there. We know that refugees have not only stayed in Syria, but they've been going to the surrounding countries, including Jordan. So can you just give us a sense of what you're seeing there in Jordan and maybe what your role is in serving those vulnerable people?
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan hosts the second biggest number of refugees that went to neighboring countries of Syria. The first is Turkey. The government here estimates about 1.5 million, although registered with the UNHCR, there's about 630,000 Syrian refugees, in addition to Iraqi refugees as well. Most of those refugees are outside of camps. Funnily enough, we always imagine them to be in camps. About 18% is in camps, and the majority urban refugees. And we serve urban refugees. The programs that we're doing here focus primarily on families and children and women. And what we're trying to do is, what we are doing is training local churches to provide a response to 4 to 7 year olds, primary and pre-primary kids who do not go to school. Maybe they've already missed several years of school and who are lacking that educational and recreational upbringing, and need help with things like psychosocial care, basic school skills, life skills, and then education as well, primary education. So the church is doing a good job, but put under a lot of pressure, basically. You have people who are not upper class, not middle class, don't have expendable income, but who are still being expected to be welcoming and host when, you know, their own children have their own struggles and what they make isn't enough to cover their needs. So there is some tension. A lot of people are showing a lot of generosity in paying for their apartments, for example. Churches are putting on programs specifically targeting Syrian families, Iraqi families, which is fantastic to see. And you're seeing, for example, with the children's program we do, Christian Jordanians volunteering, and there is not a culture of volunteering here, to be a blessing to Syrian families, to Muslim families, which they've never maybe done before, and trying to give something of themselves, even though they feel that they haven't got that much to give.
What is your long range hope, or World Relief, or yours personally? What do you see happening in Jordan? What do you hope happens? What's the end result that you would love to see?
Yeah, it is a good question. There's something that's complicated sounding called integral mission, but it's hoping for transformational development so that you meet people's physical needs, social needs, academic needs, whatever, and their spiritual needs. And really, as a Christian organization centered on Christ and on the gospel, but who is also an NGO and not allowed to proselytize, and you can't use Bible quotes in your curriculums and all this, trying to meet the balance between meeting people's physical needs and seeing people move one step closer in their journey with the Lord, with Christ, even though we can't maybe phrase it like that. Having integrity in our work and bringing in the gospel through what we do is quite difficult, actually, in these countries, but something that is exciting and that we all want to see in this team is to see see Christ honored and made known in countries which don't know him, even if that's just offering a glass of water to a
Mm.
child, for example, or doing something small. So that would be our hope. I guess that's definitely my hope, and it sounds like it's something similar to what you guys want as well through the type of Christmas offerings that you give.
Well, Kiri, at Newday, our church, we celebrate Christmas a little differently. We spend a little bit more, a little bit less on one another, and we give a little bit more to an offering so that we could partner with organizations around the world that are making a difference, like World Relief. And as a part of our Christmas offering this year, we gave $12,500 to provide essential supplies for 20 families, I believe, in Iraq. Now, you're in Jordan, so that's a little different. You're doing different work than is happening in Iraq. I think those essential supplies include hygiene kits and pots and pans and everything a family would need to be reestablished. But can you give us an idea of what that would look like for a family to receive something like that? What difference that might make?
Yeah, absolutely. And firstly, thank you. Absolutely incredible. And your generosity is literally tangible in this region. So thank you.
Oh,
I'll give you one example of a hygiene kit, which is also something we distribute here in Jordan. There's one lady, we do this, a club for children, as I said, and there's one lady who comes to the club every week. She's the only adult who comes. It's only really for children, so it's surprising and lovely that she comes. And she sits there every week watching her children and other people's children do this program, and she just sits there with her other baby in her arms and relaxes and watches and enjoys this safe place, essentially. And we gave out hygiene kits to all the families who attended this particular club with shampoo, cleaning clothes, washing powder,
detergent.
sort of things. And she was so surprised to receive it. And she kind of said, well, who is this from? And to be able to explain that there are people on the other side of the world who don't speak your language, who don't maybe share all your cultural values and who are really quite different, that you haven't been forgotten, that people still care for you and want to provide for you. You could just see it on her face. It was confused and surprised and bewildered and thankful and grateful for these things, but also, moreover, that they were remembered. And I think that's what the church here feels, as well as Muslim women like this lady, that it's easy to be forgotten. People feel forgotten, and despite the social media and the coverage, feel that they're not represented. So to have people give in ways that people can experience through a hygiene kit or a pan or a shelter, like you have done in Iraq, is very meaningful. And she still comes to the club. She still comes every week and just absorbs and soaks it all in, and it's a pleasure to see her. And I'm sure that, well, I know that she's very thankful for everything that you've given. And that's just one hygiene kit to one lady. So the different items that go to families in Iraq, to 20 families in Iraq, makes the absolute difference for them in their displacement and in this moment of transition and immense need. So yes, thank you. Absolutely amazing gift, and yeah, you guys are pretty epic.
Your joy is kind of contagious halfway across the world, so thank you for that.
No problem. Thank you to you guys, honestly.